officials and everybody who was there at the blockade and at the demonstrations in the area were all the salt of the earth Canadians that you would expect to show up at a peaceful protest. And that's what it was. And that was literally the cause for them to say, we're going to wrap up. We've made our message clear. The people have heard us. But, today is the day that we're going to peacefully depart, because peaceful message is the key.
Yeah, well, I remember when you and Key and so many were down there and you called me saying, can we get lawyers for these guys? And I said, yes. So we're here to keep that promise. And it's going to be an extremely expensive case because it's, proceeding by indictment, judge and jury trial, 3 defendants. I only met the defendants for the first time today because, they're local guys. How would I meet them? I live out east. Oh, here's the cops going by. Probably the largest deployment in Lethbridge since the Second World War. I was bantering with one of them about, listen, I suppose those cops are just following orders, but that's not an excuse I like very much. Let's get back to the 3 men. They seem, we're going to meet them and get to know them in the weeks and months ahead. These are regular guys. One of them is even on a town council. I couldn't even believe it. Like, he's a local elected official.
Yep, yeah, that's Marco. And not only is he a town councillor, he's also going to be a witness at the Public Order Emergency Commission to speak on the events of the Coutts blockade and how they relate to the invocation of the Emergencies Act.
Very interesting. And I met the other guys, very normal, quiet, private people, not the kind of people that would be like George. I met him, feels a little old school, a little old fashioned, certainly not someone who likes the limelight, very modest man, a Christian man, not the kind of person who should be in a criminal trial. Give me a word about George.
Incredibly calm, I noticed. Determined, sure, absolutely. But I just remember the way he would compose himself through the entirety of when I saw him at Coutts demonstrations or the blockade demonstrations. Is he was a very collected individual, very peaceful by all accounts. I think at one moment, and this was many individuals had done this, where he was like, let's pray, let's lead a prayer here. These are religious individuals. They're regular Southern Albertans. There's nothing of them in any capacity that I saw spoke to them being violent or malicious in any regard. Even as Marco had suggested when he made a speech here, was that, thank you officers for being here. We understand there's, a bit of turbulence in the situation, but this is a part of the system, is to have law enforcement, and we are thankful to everybody in the situation.
You know what? I'm Jewish, and so our Old Testament is a little bit different than the New Testament. New Testament has a lot of turn the other cheek, talk about love. That's one of the things that makes Christianity so important and so successful and so valuable. Judaism, the Old Testament is a little bit more fire and brimstone, and there was a real Christian flair here today. Not a flair, but a Christian kindness. And I respect it, but I have to say I don't share it, Sid. Yeah. This praising of the police, and I know that's the right thing. That's the noble way to be. But I saw some RCMP liaison officers bantering with the protesters, and you told me that those were the same RCMP tricksters, the dirty tricksters who were negotiating in bad faith with the truckers in Coutts. They're the ones who were collecting intelligence on the truckers to feed to the prosecutors, to give them those liaison officers are likely going to be witnesses in this trial. And there's just listen, I love Christians and I love the Christian mindset, but there's something about like joking and bantering and we respect you kind of talk to RCMP officers whose mission even today is to get every scrap of intelligence to put these truckers behind bars for up to 10 years. I just don't have that milk of human kindness in me, Sid. Maybe it's nothing to do with religion. Maybe it's just my quarrelsome personality. But I did not like that chumminess with the police snitches and spies who are trying to put these truckers away. I'm just built different, Sid.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I implied that they respect the police, and that could very well be a fair statement. But more to the point, it's they appreciate the stance of the cops. They don't let them off the hook, though. That's the thing, is they hold the police accountable to their words. Now, the problem you allude to is the fact that they are literally walking CCTV cameras, gathering evidence and information against them. But a part of this, too, is the fact that a lot of the blockade supporters, those who were at the demonstrations, they don't have anything to hide.
That's a good point. But, the head of when the founders of the KGB said, show me the man and I'll find you the crime. And that's the thing about what I've discovered is if they can put Tamara Leach in prison, if they can put Arthur Pawlowski in prison, neither of which who's ever had a trial on the merits of their case, if they can put a pastor and a Métis grandma in prison for a month and a half without trial, show me the man, I'll find you the crime. These cops can put anyone in jail. And it's really rocked my faith in the judicial system and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And I say this as someone, when I was in law school, we were taught that the Charter of Rights was the highest document in the country, tantamount to the Bible for lawyers, and it's proved to be worthless. Listen, I'm going to maintain a keen interest in this because it's a terrible story. We have to help these men. We made a promise to help them. We have to keep that promise. The promise was to crowdfund their legals. We have to do that. But it's also a political story in that these officers, these RCMP, there's Trudeau's cops, Brenda Lucky's cops, and you have Jason Kenney's prosecutor, and Trudeau's cops and Brenda Lucky have been discredited, and Jason Kenney has been defenestrated, and you've got a new Premier, Danielle Smith, and we will stand with these truckers and fight with them. But the right thing would be for the prosecutor to say, you know what, this is not in the public interest. We are not going to proceed. And I have hope that the new Premier of Alberta will call off this show trial.
Well, and September 16th, I believe, is when the RCMP laid these charges, the 3 charges of mischief. And they alleged that these guys were the key participants of the Coutts blockade. Or in other words, they alleged that they were involved in a peaceful protest, and now they're getting charged. And the punishment, which seems to be sought after by the prosecutor, is the 10 years in prison. Is this the standard we want to set?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned earlier, that when these same prosecutors asked for 4.5 years for a rapist, so he obviously thinks peaceful protest is worse. What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.